morning, grade 5 students. Once again, this is your teacher in Science 5, Miss Laura, greeting you a scientific day. For today's learning target, you will be identifying the different properties of sound and their effects. We will not be able to achieve our learning target without our work plan. And our work plan is science bits, sounds like, discussion on sound, activity on sound, and wrap up. Science Bits, you will be able to see the 360 view of Mars got from NASA's Perseverance rover. So try to check the link which is uploaded in this learning package and of course investigate and try to manipulate the 360 degrees image of Mars being uploaded in the YouTube. So for today's lesson, there are questions that we need to answer after the discussion. And of course, this question will eventually lead us to our learning target. The following questions are: how does sound is being produced? What are the properties of sound? And what are the effects of the properties of sound? Now, let's start it with a simple demo. This is sounds like. Use your right hand to hold your neck. Are you done? After which, try to mimic or copy the sound of a pig. Very good. How about snake? Sss. How about a duck? Quack, quack, quack. Now, I have several questions for you to answer. What did you notice when you do the sound of pig and duck? What did you notice when you do the sound of snake? Very good. You simply notice that there is a sound because there is a vibration into your neck part because you're touching your neck. This is because sound is produced by vibrating objects or vibration.
Hear so many sounds in our surroundings in our daily life. When a lion roars, we hear a sound. If we pluck the string of a musical instrument, say a guitar, we hear a sound. Water pouring into a glass, bat hitting the ball, water hitting the rocks, etc. are some of the examples of different sounds. Sound plays a very important role in our life, and most importantly, it helps us to communicate with each other. Have you ever thought about what actually produces the sound? To answer this question, first we need to understand vibration. What is vibration? It is to and fro or back and forth motion of an object. For example, if we stretch this rubber band with one hand and pluck it in the middle, it starts to move back and forth. In short, it starts to vibrate. It is this vibration that produces the sound. Yes, anything that vibrates will produce sound.
So basically, anything that vibrates will produce sound. When you listen to your favorite music group, you hear a variety of sound. All those sounds come from different sources. They are all produced by vibrating objects or vibration. How do you think musical instrument or a stereo speaker make sound waves in the air? What happens when those waves reach your ears? And why does a guitar sound different from a violin? You will learn about this and you can answer these questions upon our discussion about the properties of sound. The first property of sound is speed. Speed is, or the speed of sound, is the distance traveled per unit by, or unit time by any sound. The ability of material to transmit sound depends on the property called elasticity. The more elastic the medium, when we say medium, it is the material, the faster the sound travel. So elasticity is the ability of a material to bounce back after being disturbed. Elastic solids are very good transmitters of sound since they are or their particles are compressed. They can easily go back to their original position and they can easily spread out again, just like metals. Since speed of the sound depends on the medium which sound is being transferred, we can eventually say that rubber, plastic, and cloth are poor transmitter of sound. Maybe this gives you a confusion because we are talking about elasticity. And materials like rubber, plastic, and cloth are poor transmitters. The fact that when we had a lesson before, when we talk about elasticity, it is a certain property of a solid that can go back to its original position. This time, elasticity of sound is different. It is um, ability of a certain object to bounce back, or we can say to bounce back after being disturbed. When you say disturbed, there is a certain sound which have been produced by that material. So as you notice in the clip that I am showing you, since the particles of a liquid are closer to each other than the particles of gases, the sound waves are transmitted earlier in liquid. However, the particles in solids are closer than in liquids. This is why sound are more easily transmitted in solid materials. As you can see in the example that I'm giving you, a rubber has a speed of sound which is 60 meters per second. Air at 40 degrees Celsius has the speed of sound which is 355 meters per second, and as so on. If you would compare the following materials, we can say that solid materials are more elastic and more faster to travel from sound. There are also instances wherein we are trying to increase the volume of our stereo, the radio, the television, or the music box that we have. And why do you think is the reason the volume or the sound gets higher or lower? This is because of intensity. Intensity of a sound describes its loudness of particular distance from the source of the sound. So the intensity is the reason why we can hear the loudness and softness or lowness of a particular sound depending on the distance. It is the amount also of energy the wave carries per second through a given area. So this sound intensity depends on both wave's amplitude and distance from the sound source. When we talk about amplitude, it is a sound wave that can be defined as the loudness or the amount of maximum displacement. When you say displacement, it is the changes of the waves from a particular source of sound. Maximum displacement of the vibration or vibrating object. As you notice in the screen and as you notice on the clip that I'm showing you, it gives you a wave or wavy line. That wavy line is the amplitude, which means the greater the amplitude of sound waves, the louder the sound is. And of course, loudness also depends on the distance from the source of the sound waves. The closer you are from a certain material or source of the sound, the greater or the louder you can hear it. Well, of course, sound intensity is also equivalent to the amount, which is called decibels. Decibel is a unit that compares the intensity of the different sounds. There are also instances in a certain place wherein you see people who are whispering in order for their voices not to be heard by anyone else. But that whisper is very loud to the ones being heard, or to the ones hearing the whisper. So if someone whispers in your ear, the sound intensity may be greater than when someone shouts at you from the other end of the field. So this is because also of the intensity. This is a chart wherein we can eventually see the intensity level of different or common sounds that we already have. So eventually we can see a 0 decibel, that is the quietest sound human can hear. And of course, as it reaches 100 decibel to 120, this is already the threshold wherein pain or damage in the ear can eventually acquire by a certain person. But then, if we can eventually hear 130 or more than 120 decibel, our ears can be hurt and eventually will cause permanent deafness. Take note that each 10 decibel in sound per level represent tenfolds increase in intensity. So when we talk about 40 decibel, it will eventually have its intensity into 50 decibel for us. So we need to be careful about how we are going to use our earphones, our stereos, and TVs properly, because these sounds might eventually give us permanent deafness if we are not very careful in using or hearing sounds. Now, eventually at this moment, most of you loves to watch, loves to hear, and love to dance and sing with BTS and Blackpink. My question is, how do they sing? How do you sing? People can tend to sing because the vocal cords relax while the muscles in the throat stretches. These changes of frequency of sound. So when the vocal cords are stretched, they vibrate more often as the air rushes past them. So this is because of the frequency. So again, the vocal cord stretch, and as the vocal cord stretches, there will be more vibration and often as air rushes past them. This will lead to high frequency sound waves. And as the vocal cords are relaxing, or the vocal cord is relaxing, there will be less vibration, which would lead to low frequency sound waves. Take note that frequency is the number of vibration or sound waves per second. As you would notice, there are materials which are, or you can see vibration or materials in motion that we can even hear it. That is because humans can only respond to frequencies ranging 20 to 20,000 hertz. This frequency is what we call the audible range. There are different frequencies or sound waves. First is the ultrasonic or ultrasound waves. These are sound waves of above 20 hertz. So it can eventually reach human ear but not detected. We can hear it but eventually not detected, unlike the following animals. Bats can hear 100,000 hertz and dogs can hear 50,000 hertz. This means that these animals can eventually detect even though the simplest or small sound that humans could not ever hear. The other wave or frequency of sound wave is the infrasound wave, which means this sound wave is below 20 hertz. So it is considered to be the low frequency sound. These are the sounds that we could not even hear, just like the vibration of earthquake and of volcanoes. Any sound with a frequency below the range of human hearing is known for infrasonic, and any sound with a frequency above human hearing ranges is known as ultrasound. So the frequencies of sounds are eventually differ from each other.
Oh, her eyes make the stars look like they're not shining. Her hair falls perfectly without her trying. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. I was thinking about her, thinking about me, thinking about us, and her, she won't bug me. It's only just a dream. Think that she don't see what I see, but every time she asks me, do I look okay? I'll say. When I see you travel back down that road, will she come back? No one knows. I think that it was only just a dream. Was it easy? Just the way it was only just a dream. When I see you travel back down that road, will she come back? No one knows. I think that I would change, 'cause you're amazing. Just the way you are. When I see your face.
So what did you notice in that certain video of Pitch Perfect? Of course, all of the people, all the girls or women who are playing or who are singing has different pitches, right? Eventually, from music or music notes, pitch is considered to be the highness and lowness of sound. It is also being referred as the number of sound waves we are sending out per second, and it is related to frequency. This means that pitch depends on the frequency of sound vibrations. Generally, big instruments are the ones that produce lower pitches, and small or smaller instruments tend to produce higher pitch. To produce high pitch note, one must vibrate something very fast, just like the air in the flute. The higher the frequency, the higher the pitch. Take note that pitch depends on these factors: kind of material, length of the string, thickness of the string, and of course tightness on how it is stretched. As you notice, if you have guitars at home, the strings of the guitar has different sound or pitch. This is because of the tightness, how it is stretched, the thickness, and the length of the string. We can eventually observe pitch in a certain organ or piano. We can say that the lower pitch is on the left and the higher pitch is on the right. Now, basically, we have talked about these different properties of sound. But take note that sound can eventually lead into two factors or two things to human. They could be music or noise. But as we go on with this, can we differentiate music and noise? When we talk about music, it is pleasant to hear. It is constant, it has constant pitch, and it has regular periodic motion as being shown in the screen. And when we talk about noise, it is unpleasant to hear, constantly varying pitches, and no regular periodic motion. It eventually produces no meaningful communication at all. It disrupts our mind, and eventually it confuses us. It does not give any pleasure to us. So, if I were you, I would choose to hear music. So this is all about our lesson for this session. If you have any question, it is open, or our genuine message feature is open for you to send me a message directly. And I hope we were able to achieve our learning target, which is we had identified the different properties of sound. So before we end up the discussion, I would like to give you or share to you this certain quotation. Light travels faster than sound. That's true. This is why some people appear bright until they speak. So you should show. Last session, I discussed to you that you should show your light to everyone. Now this time, if you have shown your light, it is better for you to add light or add sound to your light. You need to speak up. You need to show, or you need to tell that everyone has light too. And they will be, or altogether, all of us will eventually shine bright like a diamond. And, of course, we speak. So this quotation is from Stephen Wright. Thank you so much and have a scientific day. Stay safe, grade 5. God bless.